All right. Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 2025 meeting of ANC3C. We get started every meeting with the establishment of a quorum. So 3C08,
Here,
are you here?
I am here.
3C07 is here. 3C06.
Here.
3C05 will be absent this evening.
Hello, mommy. Hi, how are you?
Sorry about that. 3C04 here. 3C03 is me, and I am here. 3C02,
Here.
3C01.
Here.
Great. Thank you. So we have a quorum. I will verify that notice was sent to the listservs on our ANC notice list, on our website, and via our Twitter X account. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. So does anyone have any changes to the agenda or consent calendar before I read these items off? I only have one, and that is that we can remove the letter requesting a DC council pass emergency legislation to permit advisory neighborhood commissions to spend public funds on food purchase grants. That was done in the past during the pandemic. It turns out that some changes in OAG and OANC's interpretation allow the grants to be given for food to organizations like Ward 3 Mutual Aid. So if anyone is interested in that, please reach out, and we've done that in the past. And knowing the circumstances of the impact of the current administration's having on the federal workforce, we wanted to take action to make sure that that was something that was permissible for this ANC to do and others across the city. So that's my only change to the consent calendar. Does anyone else have any other changes to the agenda or to the consent calendar, or I'm going to go ahead and read this off? Seeing none. Okay, on the consent calendar. So these items would be approved with the approval of the agenda and consent calendar, and they include the approval of the January 2025 meeting minutes, a resolution calling for full and timely implementation of Initiative 83, ANC3C comments on the Advisory Neighborhood Commission's OANC performance oversight, a resolution regarding BZA case 21-244 at 2619 Wisconsin Avenue to construct a rear addition and a second story addition to an accessory garage of an existing detached 3-story with cellar, principal dwelling in the R1B zone. A resolution regarding HPRB application HPA 25-142 at 3504 Lowell Street Northwest to concept review rear addition, reconstructed front porch, and rear ADU. A resolution regarding HPRB application HPA 25-96 at 3516 Newark Street Northwest, concept review rear addition. And finally, amendments to ANC3C rules, which mainly address adding new committees to the rules and updates to the ANC oath of office. So all those in favor of approving the agenda and the items on the consent calendar, raise your hand or say aye. I am seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands up, so that approves 7-0. So the items that I just read off and will not read again have been approved and will not be discussed further at this meeting. Okay, moving on to our next section of the agenda, which is presentations. So we have with us this evening the Office of Planning regarding the zoning implementation of the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines. So Maxine,
Yeah.
let me make you a co-host. And will you be presenting and sharing screen or somebody else?
Yes, I'll be sharing the screen.
Okay. So you should have the
Go
share
ahead.
permissions now, so you can go ahead.
I'm sharing it's not turned. It's a sharing is not turned on. Send requests.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Eight co-host. Okay. You can go ahead now. Hopefully.
Okay. Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. And let me do that. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Packett and all the commissioners for having us this evening. And again, I am Maxine Brown Roberts from the Office of Planning, and I'm here along with Ron Barron, Joe Lawson, and Jennifer Stangasser, all from the Office of Planning. Just to review what we're going to be doing this evening. First of all, we're going to review the zoning amendment process and understanding the goals and recommendation of the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines, review our timeline, and then take any questions and concerns from the meeting tonight. On the screen, you can see that about the comprehensive plan and the zoning process. So the comprehensive plan, as most of you may know, consists of three parts: the situation elements, the area elements, and the maps. And the comprehensive plan is written every 10 years, updated every 5. And it so happens that we are up for our next rewrite, which will be kicking off soon in 2025. So based on the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines were developed, and many people who were in this meeting tonight was a part of that. And the development guideline focuses on the corridor and make recommendations for future development. These guidelines were also reviewed by the Historic Preservation Review Board because 2 of the main areas that is being recommended for change are also historic districts. And so the Historic Preservation Review Board was part of reviewing the development guidelines. So the next phase, which we're beginning right now, is the zoning. So as we move forward, we will be reviewing the recommendations that are outlined in the comprehensive plan and the development guidelines, and developing a strategy for implementation. And this would be in concert with the ANC and community members. So our review will also include community engagement, again, starting with the ANC and other key community groups. The zoning change is we'll draft as propose zoning change, and that will be sent to the ANC. As part of that review, we will let the ANC know when we're about to do that. So the zoning commission will have at a meeting where we will present the proposal, and then they will make a recommendation as to whether they think that the proposal is ready for public hearing. The public hearing will be scheduled. In the meantime, we'll also be having continuing community engagement. And following the zoning commission public hearing, they'll make a decision and then an order will be issued. So going back to the comp plan map, The first one is the generalized policy map. And as you can see, there is an area outlined in red. And that recommendation of the generalized policy map was that it's recommended for detailed analysis to be considered and looking at the impacts that it may have on future rezonings. Based on that, we also have the FLUM, or the future land use map. And the areas for recommended change are outlined in black that you can see. And those areas were already recommended for mixed use. However, the new comprehensive plan recommended that these areas were able to take additional density and height. So based on that, and the next thing. So as part of the study, in the development guidelines looked at three main areas: the Cleveland Park area, the zoo area, and the Woodley Park area. Both along this corridor, there were, the plan outlined public space improvements to be done. However, the zoning changes that were proposed were only for the Cleveland Park area and the Woodley Park area. And so there is no recommended zoning change for the zoo area. And so the changes in that area is limited to public space, and the zoning will continue to be what it is today. So the guidelines for the zoning change recommended building heights and density, which were based on the comprehensive plan land use designations. And they recommended medium and high density mixed use development in the historic Cleveland Park and Woodley Park commercial areas. So in Woodley Park, they recommended a portion for medium density and another portion for high density. In the Cleveland Park area, it was all recommended for medium density development. And this is basically a synopsis of what the plan recommended. Again, they went into some details for the Cleveland Park. It recommends that building heights be at 75 feet, and then with the appropriate density. And it also had some illustrations of what how the buildings could look facing Connecticut Avenue, and also facing the residences to the rear of the buildings. They recommended some setbacks, nothing specific, but these were just illustrations to show how the setbacks would interact with the streets. The same thing was recommended for Woodley Park. On the west side of Woodley Park, they recommended having a 90-foot height limit, and on the east side, 75 feet. Again, these were responding to the adjacent uses. On the east side, there were residences to the rear, and so they wanted to have a lower height and also some step backs. On the west side, the buildings to the rear would have, or the current buildings are multifamily buildings which have a higher height, and so they recommended additional height on the west side. So our next steps is, again, based on the current zoning, the Cleveland Park and Woodland Park areas are currently designated as neighborhood commercial centers. For Cleveland Park, the neighborhood commercial center is based on the MU4 zone as a base, and in Woodland Park, it's the MU4 and the MU5A as the base zones. So the amended text and map that we will be moving forward with or recommending would reflect the recommendations of the development guidelines for higher density and height. The plan also asks us to review the limitations on eating and drinking establishments. So that is something else that we'll be looking at and making a recommendation in concert with the ANC and the feedback that we get from the ANC and community members. So the timeline that we're looking at from starting the looking at the rezoning right now and having a decision from the zoning commission. So right now we're in the community outreach phase, and we'll be preparing a draft amendment, which we will be sharing with the commission, the ANC. Not at this time, we haven't done that yet, but that is something that we'll be looking forward to, so that we can have a set down in spring of this year, which is coming up pretty soon. But we will continue outreach with the ANC and also the community members. Then we're looking to have more continued community outreach and submitting the proposed amendments to the zoning commission in summer, so that in the fall we will have public hearings. One thing I want to also note is that, throughout this process, we will continue to have, any meetings necessary with both the ANC and any community group or resident who wants to meet with us, or, just to give us any feedback on the proposal as we go ahead. I want to give a few clarifications of what the process will entail, and mostly some of what we're not going to be doing as part of this review. And so the proposed Cleveland Park and Woodland Park zoning, this is not a planning exercise. The planning exercise took place at the comprehensive plan stage and also at the development guidelines. So this is an implementation stage. The proposed zones have to be consistent with the recommendations of the comp plan and development guidelines, which recommend medium and high density designations. And so we will not be recommending any lower density areas, just because it would not be consistent with the comp plan. There are no residential zone properties within the area that we're looking at that is covered by the development guidelines and the comprehensive plan. And so we do not, so this zoning process will only affect the areas that are recommended for neighborhood residential and commercials. The design review, this process will not include a design review, because that is going to be at the Historic Preservation Review Board stage. Since as both areas are in historic districts, all development has to go through HPRB, and so they will take the lead in any design review. We will have, direction that there will be setbacks and that sort of thing, but maybe not given any special recommendation for, say, a 15-foot setback here or a 20-foot setback there. Those are all going to be part of the historic preservation review. Again, the public space, we will not be doing any recommendations for public space, as the zoning recommendations cannot be implemented. Public space cannot be implemented through the zoning regulations. And similarly, nothing in relation to transportation, such as, on-street parking and bike lanes. We will have, the regulations will call out, their parking requirement and loading requirements and where those can take place. Then, as part of the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines, there was an infrastructure assessment. And those had comments from agencies such as DPW and PEPCO, and all said that they would do up-to-date assessments as the development projects come in, and most of those will be done at the permitting stage for each development. So that is the presentation for now. Thank you very much. We have here our contact information. We have a special email address that we will take comments on. And so feel free to use that or to, contact us directly. But that's it for now. Again, thank you for listening, and I'm available for questions.
Great. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that slide that you included in there about the one right before this one. That was exactly what I was looking for when I requested that. So thank you. So I just want one other clarification is that the council, the full council already voted on approving the amendments to the comprehensive plan. That was one of the triggers of this whole design guideline process. And now this is just the next step in a process that's been going on for several years, correct?
That's correct.
With tons of community engagement along the way, which you guys have detailed in the document as well. So thank you. With that, I'll open it up to commissioners first for questions, and then we'll go to community members. So commissioners, do you have any questions, comments? Okay, looks like you've cleared up this group's concerns. So we will go to the community. If you want to raise your virtual hand, you can do so using the reactions button there at the bottom of your screen and raise hand feature. So Bob Ward, you're up first.
Thank you. Yeah, so my question, I think it would be useful for the community and the commission to hear a little bit about the new inclusionary zoning requirements that will impact this zone. In our current zoning, we have IZ requirements that are, you get extra height if you meet the requirements to add either 8 or 10% of your footage for permanent affordable housing at certain income requirements. But I believe that this area would be subject to IZ plus.
Yes, that's correct.
I think we have a bunch of new commissioners and other people who may not know exactly what that is. Is there like a 30-second highlight of what that is, so that, because I think there's a lot of folks in the community who, when they hear about potential development, want to know what it would involve and will there be affordable housing in it?
Okay, that is something that we can prepare and send back to you.
Okay.
Because especially since as we haven't decided on which of the zones we're going to use as yet. So when we have that will be part of the presentation. But we can also send you a synopsis, before that happens.
Hi, everybody. This is Joel with the Office of Planning. I can just give a very, very high level summary. Maxine's absolutely right that we'll be working out the details as we get into the zone itself. Typically, IZ Plus is a program that applies when properties are, when the zoning changes and the zoning results in increased density and height. So it's a way of gaining additional affordable units in new developments, the kind of thing that we would get sometimes through, for example, a planned unit development, the kind of levels of affordable units. So in this way, IZ would simply apply to any, or sorry, IZ Plus would simply apply to any new development. And that can be up to about 18 to 20% of the units would be set aside as affordable housing consistent with the IZ program. The IZ program typically targets housing at 60% of median family income, MFI, in the area for rental units, and for sale units, it would be at 80% of MFI. That's a very high level synopsis, but we're happy to get you more information on that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, I just saw the comment. IZ stands for inclusionary zoning, and that's simply what we call our mandatory affordable housing program for new development when it was created. Back in the earlier 2000s. So it's been in place for quite a number of years now. So it's definitely a tried and tested program. But IZ stands for inclusionary zoning, meaning that new development must include a certain level of affordable units within it.
Another question in the chat is, are these changes to pre-existing structures or new buildings? I want to take this opportunity to remind folks that there is no project being proposed as part of the zoning map and text amendment changes. So there's nothing like on the boards, there's no actual project to review here. But that said, if you guys want to answer that question about changes to pre-existing structures or new existing buildings.
Yeah, it would apply to if they're new buildings, yes, or additions to new buildings, yes, it would apply to those.
Great, thank you. All right. Bob Ward, is this a new hand?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. There's no other hands up right now.
Thanks. And we covered this a little bit in the committee meeting, and you mentioned it, Maxine mentioned it in the slide presentation about the eating and drinking establishment cap. And I'm just curious, what are the additional criteria you're going to be looking for in your analysis, whether or not that gets included? Because I feel like there's been an ANC resolution on this, and I think the Main Streets have been supportive of it. I'm just want to know, like, what are the checklists, or what are the analytical points that you'll be going through to decide whether or not that gets included in the text amendments?
I think we will look further at what the recommendation is. What was the background for that for that regulations, and see what the DOB has right now on their books, and then based on that, and then talking further with the community, and then we'll make a decision on that. But it's going to be a joint decision, but we just want to make sure that we look at how it came into being, and if that situation still exists. If not, then we will modify or move ahead with it, or whatever the outcome is of that study.
Thanks. And if I could, I just one follow-up question on that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is there's other regulations that we experience in this area, but I think happen in other areas as well. For example, fast food
Right.
restaurants and how those are defined, and they require special exceptions. And I just want to confirm that that's not unique to the neighborhood mixed use zones. That applies to other mixed use zones around the city as well, correct?
Yes, it is not unique to this area alone. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Thanks.
Okay. Are there other questions from the community? Again, just raise your hand in the react button there at the bottom. Last call. And again, this is not the last time we'll be seeing
Right, that's correct.
the Office of Planning here. So don't feel like this is your last opportunity. Commissioners, last call for you all. All right, hearing and seeing none. Again, thank you for attending and your great presentation and your time and your work on this again.
Okay, thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Okay,
Hopefully you have a
goodbye.
good evening. All right. So moving on to the next section of our agenda, we will start with announcements and the single member district announcements. Commissioner Prinzo.
Well, I would like to announce something that I've been waiting to announce for what seems like 2 years. But thanks to the tireless work of our Main Streets director and my occasional personal therapist, Robert, Woodley Park officially has a grocery store in the neighborhood at 2616 Connecticut Avenue, Capital Grocers. I was there many times this past week because I was lazy and did not want to take multiple forms of transportation to the nearest grocery store. So it is absolutely fantastic. They have great produce, great meat selection, wine, and anything that you may or may not need. So we would like to welcome them to the neighborhood, and I would like to thank Robert, this ANC, some of the other businesses on the strip, just everybody coming together and basically figuring out a way to make something that this neighborhood needed happen when the city government was not exactly receptive. So I would like to thank you all, and that is my SMD report.
Great. Thank you. Any other SMD reports? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we will move right along. Oops. Okay, so we will move to committee reports, starting with safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation.
That committee will be meeting tomorrow for our initial meeting. I think that's it. Samuel and Aaron, or Commissioner Tower and Beard. Let me know if I missed anything.
All right. Transparency and public process,
There's no update.
community engagement and grants,
No update.
planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, March 2nd or 3rd?
Third.
March 3rd via Zoom starting at 6:30. We definitely have at least one item on the agenda right now, which is the Wonder Food Hall that is coming into where the wine store was in the Cleveland Park Stop and Shop. And they are requesting zoning relief because they are classified as a fast food restaurant. And so Commissioner Bose met with them, and they are wanting to come to our meeting in March, both the committee meeting and the full ANC meeting. So if you have anything else you wanted to add there.
I'll just add, I met with the Wonder team last week or maybe the week before. It's a very exciting project, so really excited to hear what they have in store at that next meeting. So really encourage everyone to join if they can.
Great. Thank you. And again, this is like Michelin star chef food, so it's like a little bit higher class than what you might think is fast food. So we'll cover that at that committee meeting. And then I know we have the renomination of some folks. Commissioner Prinzo, do you want to take this bit?
Sure. I would like to move the renomination of Glenn Kellogg, Kathy Gibbons, and Bob Ward to continue on as community members of the Planning, Zoning, and Housing and Economic Development Committee.
All right, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands are up, so that's approved, 7 to 0 to 0.
And then I would also like to move a new nomination of Jacob Bowman Clark from 3CO2 to join the committee. I think he is here. I met with Jacob a couple of weeks ago, and he is very excited to be joining this committee. And if you would like to say a few words. Oh, I see him.
Hey there, yeah, I'm here. Camera's not working though, but my name's Jacob Bonin Clark. I am a federal government employee at the Department of Transportation for now, I suppose. We'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, looking forward to working with you guys on the committee.
Great.
I would like to move that.
All right. All those in favor of this nomination, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands are up, so that passes. And welcome and thank you for joining the group, and look forward to your participation. All right. Anybody else, any of my co-chairs from Planning, Zoning, Housing, and Economic Development have anything else they want to add at this time? Nope. All right, Residential Historic Preservation.
Sure. The Residential Historic Preservation Committee met this past month and tentatively will meet next month on the 13th, assuming that there are applications to be reviewed at that time.
Super. Thank you. Environmental Justice.
Hi, yes, I've been talking to other members of the Environmental Justice Committee, and we have been developing a sort of tentative agenda for the year with issues to take up and to consider. We are planning a meeting, which we'll notice for March 11th to talk about the rehabilitation of the Normanstone Creek, which is happening now. DC Water is relining the sewer there, the sewer that runs along the creek. And so we want to hear about that and also maybe give some input into it. Normanstone Creek is notably dirty among the tributaries of Rock Creek Park. And I'd also like to take up, if we can get appropriate participation from advocates and the city, the proposed bottle bill that's being considered. So those two topics I'd like to take up at the next committee meeting, which we're scheduling for, I think it's March 11th, but we'll notice it.
Okay, great. We did already pass the resolution on the bottle bill several months ago, by the way.
Mhm.
I think we were actually one of the very first. All right, public safety.
I guess we go ahead, Adam.
No, go ahead.
We are scheduling a public safety committee meeting for next month. And we'll be publishing the agenda with notice, just another pitch for the community. When we schedule these meetings, we usually have very good participation from the 2nd District, from the police officers who are in charge of our PSAs that comprise the ANC. And it is a great opportunity for the community to engage and hear from the police, and also to guide the police on where priorities should be, depending on crime levels and other public safety issues in the ANC area.
Great, thank you. All right, and finally, the hybrid virtual/in-person meeting task force. Do you all have any updates on progress with sorting that?
Fortunately. stay tuned.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just didn't want to forget about it until the last minute. Okay. Now we will move on to any updates from mayor, council, agency, or community or organization, starting with Owen from the mayor's office. Make it brief, please.
Hello, bear with me for 1 second. I'm just copying this into chat. I'm gonna have to use my phone due to some computer issues. But I'm pasting, oh, I guess I don't have access to the chat. Well, I can email the commissioners regarding this, but it's an announcement for the upcoming budget for engagement forums. There'll be one on Monday, February 24th at 11 a.m., the senior budget engagement teletown hall. And I can pass on the link to that to the commissioners. There's the budget engagement forum at Rosedale Recreation Center on Thursday, February 27th at 5:30 p.m. and the budget engagement forum at Kennedy Recreation Center on Saturday, March 1st at 11:30 a.m. I'll pass along the details and text about that to the commissioners.
You should be able to send the chat to one of the co-hosts, which are the commissioners.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Not everyone in the chat.
Okay, I'm getting a message saying chat disabled. So.
Okay. Sorry, the settings were off again. As usual, Zoom has done an update that I found to be unpleasant.
I got you. Well, I'm done with the announcement. I can pass it along and then paste it on the chat once that's sorted.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, moving on to Councilmember Fruman's office. Is anyone here from there?
Yes, this is Conrad Risher from Councilmember Fruman's office.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me. A few updates. Just wanted to let everyone know that next Thursday, Councilmember Fruman will be hosting a Workday in the Ward event at Open City, which is at 2331 Calvert Street Northwest. Staff and the council member will be there at various times from 8 a.m. through about 4 p.m. Folks are invited to stop by. Councilmember Pagetts, I'll just confirm that the office is aware of your interest in a later in the day event, and it remains under consideration. Wanted to let folks know that performance oversight hearings are continuing. I won't go through the list because all district agencies are having hearings of various types, but you can find the access to the full list on the council's website, dccouncil.gov. Councilmember Fruman is now the chairman of the Human Services Committee, which means that this Thursday he'll be chairing a hearing on the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment, as well as subsequent hearings on the public libraries and the Department of Human Services. The budget process has also begun. Council Fruman hosted a budget listening session earlier in the year, but those who have additional thoughts about how the budget should be shaped are invited to send email to frumanoffice@dccouncil.gov or to call the office. And finally, I wanted to mention that Mr. Fruman intends to introduce legislation that would change the name of the bridge that runs over Klingle Valley to name it after Judy Heumann, a longtime resident of the Kennedy Warren. The apartment building, obviously just south of this bridge. Ms. Heumann was a great leader in not just this country, but internationally in providing rights to people with disabilities, including helping to pass the Americans with Disabilities Act. And Mr. Fruman thought it appropriate to let the ANC know before he introduces it, since it will be within the confines of ANC3C. That is all. I thank you for letting me listen in.
Yes, actually ANC3C was on top of the things regarding renaming the bridge and passed this resolution that I'll put in the chat. And we were the ones that kind of helped alert, along with Judy's lovely neighbors in the Kennedy Warren, about the opportunity to name this bridge in her honor. So I'm glad that that's moving forward. All right. Are there anyone from any other agencies here that want to make an announcement? Seeing and hearing none. Community organizations. Cassandra, Robert.
I'll go first. Thank you, Janelle. We've got a couple of fun events coming up. Stitch and Sip is next Tuesday night, 5:30 p.m. at Paragon High. Really fun. We had 20 people come last time. Tour del Taco is a citywide event the whole month of March. Imagine like a March Madness, but it's involving tacos. And then on March 8th at Laredo, we're doing a Women's History Month trivia along with Capital Trivia. And you can find information on all these events at Cleveland Park Main Street. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Robert?
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say that I think Adam and the ANC are being very modest by giving me all the credit for the grocery store. That was really a close collaboration between all of us. And I think that that's going to have a significant impact on everybody in Woodley Park, from residents to businesses alike. So I'm very happy that that's open. Via Roma is also going to open very quickly. And then soon after that, we have 2 more businesses opening around April 1st. And with that, we are almost at full capacity in Woodley Park. So I'm delighted by all of that. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other community organizations? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will move on then to the community forum, where members of the public are invited to ask questions and raise concerns about issues that were not otherwise on this agenda. So I will ask you to use the react button there at the bottom of your screen to raise your virtual hand if you have anything for this portion. Going once, going twice. All right. Oh, Kathy. Hello, hello. Go ahead.
Hello, and thanks, Janelle. This is just a quick thank you to Conrad to send along to Matt. There is no question that on the renaming or the naming of the bridge, as Janelle said, this ANC was right out there with a resolution to support, what I think is just a wonderful thing that Carol Cafiero, a friend of Judy Human here, was the first one to really be pushing. But we could use the resolution as a basis for getting other support. And we've been, the Cleveland Park, Community Association will be, in a position to send a letter whenever it is that the legislation gets introduced. But I mean, the legitimacy that comes with the ANC's resolution from a ways back was just super helpful. And I think this is just so meaningful. Judy was really a very special advocate, unusual. And I certainly haven't been involved in anything like this before. Thank you all.
Thank you. And yes, you guys were so helpful in helping us craft this resolution and move this forward. So I really appreciate it. And I will always remember Judy's big smile in this neighborhood every time I would see her venturing across the bridge, usually to go to Cleveland Park. So great. Thank you. Anyone else from the community? All right, we will then move on to commission business, where we only have one item, which is the treasurer's report, which I don't think is very exciting, but go ahead, Commissioner Kripke.
Hi, everybody. Treasurer's report, there's very little activity on our budgets. The commission did receive its quarterly payment in December of $5,238. And we've made no expenditures in the last month. We've received some interest payments. Our totals now are for our checking account is $100,072, and our savings account is $29,218 or $219. So that's where we are. And as far as I can tell, we're on budget and okay. That's all.
Great. Thank you. Anyone have any questions on the treasurer's report? All right. With that, we move to adjournment.
Can I motion to adjourn?
Second, all those in favor? All right. Thank you all again for your time and joining us this evening. Have a good one and see you around. Thank you.
Thank you.